this offseason keeps getting weirder for the Toronto Raptors as we have some really just jarring updates, jarring people that the Toronto Raptors are linked to here now at this point. So we'll dive into all of that, including the latest on Giannis Antetokounmpo, because this team has been named one of the dark horse favorites to land Giannis if he does leave the Milwaukee Bucks over the course of this offseason. And frankly, the Milwaukee Bucks season couldn't have ended in any worse of a disaster class than what could have expected there for that squad entering this postseason. So we're going to break down all the latest news, rumblings, and rumors regarding this Toronto Raptors team because, frankly, it is just absolutely wild, everything that's going on with this Raptors squad here now at this point. But before we dive into that, folks, again, if you want to join this Toronto Raptors community as we cover all of the latest news over the course of this offseason and march towards NBA draft, lottery, free agency, everything, trying to hit that 38,000 subscriber goal, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. So we build up this community here and, follow this Raptors team as we enter a very crucial offseason to, facilitate this rebuild and move in the right direction as an organization. But with all that said, with the Raptors getting back in win now mode, what happens with that is the team ends up getting linked to a bunch of random players and people across the NBA. And the first one is just strange. It's just weird. It's a interesting direction that's going on here now at this point with some semblance of logic behind it. So we'll break down this first one first, as basically news has come out that the Toronto Raptors are one of the favorites to land Pat Riley in terms of his next landing spot after the Miami Heat in the disaster class that they finished off their postseason with. In terms of expectations, it wasn't as bad as the Milwaukee Bucks, but they got slapped around by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they were a team that was the position, hey, we could tank or we could push, and they pushed to the playoffs, and they ended up just getting abused out there in that first round. So you see it down there at the bottom. The Toronto Raptors are not in the main crop of favorites for Pat Riley's next destination, but still on this list in terms of a next landing spot for Pat Riley. Now, this is weird. This is a weird kind of update. It's a weird that the Toronto Raptors are linked into this because, of course, you have Masai Ujiri that's already out here for the Toronto Raptors, locked in on this squad for a long-term period of time, won a championship, one of the more well-respected executives across the NBA, if not one of the top guys. So Pat Riley coming in terms of a role that would fill the similar spot to Masai Ujiri, unless there's expectations. Masai might leave. There's stuff behind the scenes at Rogers, which Masai essentially shut down in his end-of-season press conference. Pat Riley coming to the Toronto Raptors doesn't make a ton of sense, and his history with teams like the Lakers, the Knicks, big markets and hot locate, whatever, I feel as if it would just be a really weird adjustment for him to come to the Toronto Raptors. Now, in the world that he does, maybe it attracts free agents. Maybe there's an avenue where it improves that route, but I don't think there's going to be any, major miraculous, game-changing moves with Pat Riley come to the squad. Again, he is older. He's less on the ball in terms of trade negotiations and stuff. You see that with how the Miami Heat have kind of fizzled out as of late. And some people are saying, he really mismanaged the Jimmy Butler situation. But regardless of all that, again, Pat Riley would be cool in the organization, but I'm not sure I want him over a Masai Ujiri or anything like that. And I don't know how that would actually fit if things are going to go in that direction. So it's weird the Toronto Raptors getting linked to all these players and now all these top executives, but I don't see that happening. I'd be surprised, too, if he ends up leaving the Miami Heat as well. Just, there's been some rumblings that Eric Spoelstra might get the Brad Stevens treatment, get put into that exec role, and, figure out a new coach. They have Chris Quinn, I believe, out there on their assistant coaching spot. So it's, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. If there's any more developments than the Raptors just being listed as a dark horse, but we'll keep you up to date on everything like that nonetheless. But let's dive into the more juicy stuff because, frankly, it's official now at this point. The Milwaukee Bucks are cooked. They are just at an absolute shambles here now because they had a heartbreaking loss to their final game against the Indiana Pacers, and basically it was a heartbreaking series for Milwaukee because not only did they lose, but they lost all hope for next season as Damian Lillard ended up tearing his Achilles and went down with injury to against the Indiana Pacers. So that's a messy situation there for Milwaukee, and there are a lot of things coming out on this current situation. As Giannis was asked if he still thinks he can win a championship with Milwaukee, he said, "I'm not going to do this. Whatever I say, I know it's going to translate. I don't know, man. I wish I was just still playing." So that's an interesting quote, an interesting takeaway. Again, immediately from one of these games, emotions are high. So that is something people are looking at. And Gary Trent Jr. did have a good game, but you just see how the holes that are out here on this Milwaukee Bucks roster. These are, an elimination game. This is the lineup. This is the team that they have thrown around. Honest, it's It's just sad, man. And it's rough. Kyle Kuzma was a disaster class acquisition. This team is going nowhere fast. And they've been bad for the last few seasons now. And 2023, first round loss. 24, first round loss. 25, first round loss. And this one, they didn't really have much of a chance. And basically, we've seen Giannis have comments such as, I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. If there's a situation better for me to win the Larry O'Brien trophy, I have to take that better situation. So, that is a quote from Giannis right before they traded for Dame. Of course, there's high hopes for Dame, so the rumors end up dying down. But now with Dame out with an Achilles injury, the team being in turmoil over the past couple seasons, and things not looking much better in terms of hope, right? With the actual money situation, cap situation they have, I'm calling it dead money. They have in the next 2 seasons, in 2025, 2026, and then 27. They have over $80 million, or roughly $80 million in those seasons, linked in Kyle Kuzma and Damian Lillard, who's coming off an Achilles tear. This is not the regular Dame. Like, that is just an albatross to have out there. The older, it's not good. You're losing Brook Lopez, the age. They do not have a lot of options here now at this point in terms of building something around Giannis, and basically everyone is expecting the guy that's a star player out there. Giannis Antetokounmpo averaging 30, 12, 6.5 assists. Just an absolute top 3 player in the NBA to request a trade, request a move, or even the Bucks to mutually part ways. Because even with a player like that, you have that type of roster around him, then frankly, things are going to work out. They extended their GM's contracts, so he has some security to make some tough decisions out there in this team. So it is messy. And that's where the Toronto Raptors, of course, come in, because this team has been linked as one of the favorites to land Giannis if he's to leave the Milwaukee Bucks this season. Again, another dark horse. Again, the Raptors are at the bottom of that sort of list, but still on the list, still in the mix, because we know the Raptors have been long hopeful of landing Giannis Antetokounmpo in these discussions. And yes, Giannis would be a perfect fit, would be a great guy to have on the squad, but he would cost a lot. And after looking at this more, looking at the comment section from you guys, I tend to agree, because the one avenue that the Raptors are able to go down this route, go down this direction, make this path, is you're not outclassing the Spurs or the Nets in regards to trading more draft picks. The Lakers and Heat are on that list if Giannis is like, oh, I only want to play LA. I only want to play Miami. So they make sense to be up there because superstars have done that in the past. But the way the Toronto Raptors, if it's, just a, hey, I'm cool parting ways, Milwaukee, just do the best for you. If the Raptors are willing to let go of Scottie Barnes, then I think the Toronto Raptors can offer a better trade package than a lot of these teams. Of course, the Spurs could blow us out of the water. They offered Wemby or something like that. But other than that, I think it's a realistic trade package that could go down. Scottie Barnes being added to one of these trade talks would be something that I think the Milwaukee Bucks would take a serious look at and make this a realistic type of deal, right? Scottie, at just 23 years old, averaging 8 boards per game, 6 assists, 1 block, 1.4 steals. Again, would absolutely crush me, would absolutely kill me to let go of Scottie Barnes to do that, but I don't know. You have an opportunity at getting a guy in Giannis Antetokounmpo. We've seen Masai Ujiri make these tough decisions in the past. Giannis in the prime of his career, he's a guy that if we're winning, he wouldn't just, I'd imagine, leave the same way Kawhi Leonard did. This is a home run swing that, frankly, could lead to another championship. So whatever happens, we'll keep you up to date on the latest developments out here on that front. My camera's gone. My camera's paused, so I'll keep it rocking there. You guys are the best. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. I'm signing out. Cheers.